The hunt begins in the year 3150. Earth was no longer alone. Humans had joined the Galactic Union, a powerful alliance of planets across the stars. Peace came at a price. To keep order, the Union created a special force, silent hunters trained to track and eliminate threats before they could grow. Commander Lyra was one of them. She stood in the training dome on Station B9, her eyes cold and focused. Her armor was dark silver, marked with a symbol, a black star crossing a red flame. It meant she had never failed a mission, but this time, something was different. A voice echoed in her ear. "Commander Lyra, report to Mission Control. Level red priority." Lyra wiped sweat from her forehead. She didn't ask questions. She never did. Inside the control room, holograms floated in the air. A tall man with white hair stood in the center. Admiral Kale, the Union's highest officer. "This one is dangerous," Kale said. "A fugitive escaped from Zenter prison last week." Lyra raised an eyebrow. "Zenter? That place is a fortress." "He didn't escape," Kale said. "Someone let him out." A new hologram appeared. A man's face, human, late 20s, brown hair, sharp green eyes, calm expression even while wearing prison cuffs. "His name is Jace Rowan. He was locked away for stealing military data. But that's not the full story. He saw something. We don't know what." Lyra crossed her arms. "You want him dead? No. Bring him in, alive. He's smarter than we thought. He's already 3 systems ahead of us." Lyra nodded. "How?" "Find him." Kale leaned forward. "Be careful, Commander. He's not just a target. He's a warning." Lyra's ship, the Silent Dagger, flew through hyperspace like a ghost. She sat in the cockpit, studying Jace's file. He had once worked for the Union as an engineer. Quiet life, good record. Then one day, he vanished. When they found him again, he was deep inside a restricted system, holding stolen data. Why would someone like him risk everything? Lyra checked his last known location. A dead planet called Vela 9. It was outside regular space lanes. No cities, no life, no reason to go there. Yet his ship had landed there 2 days ago. The planet's surface was dark and cracked. Cold winds blew across the rocks. Lyra moved through the ruins of what looked like an old outpost. Her boots made soft crunching sounds in the dust. She found the remains of a small campfire, burned out. Someone had been here recently. Her scanner picked up faint energy readings. Inside a broken building, she saw strange symbols drawn on the wall. Not alien, not human, just lines, circles, patterns. Then she noticed the message carved below them. "I know you're coming." Lyra stared at the words. Her fingers touched the surface. The message was fresh. He had been here. She found his ship half buried in sand. Nearby, the cockpit glass was cracked. The engine was cold. It looked damaged on purpose. Not from crash, but from someone hiding their trail. She entered the ship carefully. No traps. Inside, she saw signs of movement. Food wrappers, a water bottle, a small, handmade toy sitting on the floor. Lyra picked it up. A wooden carving of a bird. Strange. This wasn't a man running alone. Someone else had been with him. She opened the ship's log. There was only one recording. She played it. Jace's voice spoke clearly. "If you're hearing this, then I was right. They sent you." His voice was calm, almost kind. "You don't know the truth yet, but you will. And when you do, I hope you choose the right side." The message ended. Silence returned. Lyra stood still, the toy bird still in her hand. Her mission had just begun, but something inside her shifted. This wasn't like the other hunts. This man wasn't afraid of her. He was waiting. She returned to her ship. Night was falling fast. The stars above the planet looked strange, twisted. She stared at them for a moment longer than she should have. Then, a beep on her screen. A new signal, a short train transmission, just one line of text. "Welcome to the game, Commander." Lyra narrowed her eyes. This wasn't a simple mission. It was a chase across galaxies. And somehow, she knew, he was always one step ahead. Asterisk ghost planet stars above Vela 9 were quiet. Too quiet. Commander Lyra stood at the edge of the abandoned settlement, the wind pulling at her coat like invisible fingers. She watched her ship disappear into the sky, set to orbit in stealth mode. No backup, no escape. She had chosen this. The last message from Jace still echoed in her mind. "Welcome to the game, Commander." Was this really a mission, or a trap. The buildings around her were old, but not empty. Dust covered the ground, but the footprints were fresh. Lyra knelt, studying the pattern. 2 sets of tracks, one large, one small. Someone had been here with Jace. Someone, young. She moved carefully through the settlement. Her steps were soft, her hand never far from the weapon at her side. Her eyes scanned every broken door and shattered window. Then she heard it, a faint click behind her. She turned fast. Nothing, no one, but something had changed. The air felt heavier. The silence was perfect, like the planet was holding its breath. Inside one of the old storage units, Lyra found signs of life, dried food packets, a small heat lamp, a torn blanket. There was also a journal, paper, not digital, rare, old-fashioned. She opened it. The handwriting was messy but readable. He told me the stars lie. He says the truth is buried where no one looks. We move again tomorrow. They're close. He says the woman from his dreams is coming. She has fire in her eyes. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Was this written by the child or by Jace? Dreams, fire in her eyes. She closed the book. Was Jace waiting for her, or had he seen her long before she arrived? Suddenly, her comms buzzed. A whisper. Lyra. She froze. The voice was not from the Union. It was Jace. I knew you'd follow the trail here. I left it for you, but I need you to see something now. The transmission ended. No location. No explanation. But Lyra's scanner pinged a weak signal, pulsing from the edge of the canyon just outside the settlement. She walked for an hour across black rock in cold winds. The ground cracked beneath her boots. The stars above twisted in strange ways, as if the sky didn't want her to look up. Finally, she reached the source. It wasn't a machine. It was a body, a Union scout, one of their best. Dead. His face was frozen in shock. The device was clutched in his hand. Lyra took it and turned it on. A video played, grainy, recorded secretly. It showed Admiral Kale speaking with someone in the shadows. We can't allow him to speak. He knows about Project Omega. The voice in the shadows replied, Then we erase him. Send the hunter. She won't ask questions. The screen went black. Lyra's heart pounded. Was that why she was chosen? Not because she was the best, but because she wouldn't think. Her mind raced, but her body went still. A sound, crunching rocks behind her. She turned, gun ready. A small figure stepped from the shadows. A child, a girl, messy dark hair, bright gray eyes. She stared at Lyra without fear. You're her, the girl, said softly. Lyra didn't lower her weapon. Where's Jace? The girl tilted her head. He's not far, but he's watching. He wants to see if you're ready. Lyra frowned. Ready for what? The girl walked closer, held out a hand, and it was a small metal device, a memory crystal, human-made. He said you'd understand when you saw this. Lyra took it. The moment her fingers touched it, her head was filled with images, flashes of experiments, secret labs, children, in cages, a map, a code, her own face in a file marked Omega key. Her knees shook. She wasn't the hunter. She was part of the weapon. The girl touched her hand. Jace said you're not the enemy, but if you stay with them, you'll become one. Lyra looked around. The stars above her felt colder now. The Union she served had lied. Maybe everything she believed was built on something rotten. But if that was true, who was Jace, and why did he trust her? She looked back at the girl. Where is he? The girl smiled. You're almost there. Then she stepped back into the shadows and vanished. Lyra stood alone in the dark. This planet wasn't just a hiding place. It was the beginning of something bigger. And someone, somewhere, was pulling the strings. Not everything was what it seemed. And for the first time in years, she didn't know what side she was on. But one thing was certain. She would find Jace, even if it meant tearing the stars apart. The trapped stars outside shimmered like broken glass, distant and cold. Commander Lyra sat inside her ship, staring at the memory crystal the child had given her. Again and again, she replayed the images. Children trapped in cages, scientists in white coats, Jace screaming as machines lit up around him, and one frame kept coming back. Her own face, younger, standing beside Admiral Kale. She didn't remember this. Why? What was Project Omega? Who had erased her memory? And why was Jace so sure she was the key? Lyra couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. For the first time in her life, the silence felt dangerous. She set her next destination, the coordinates she found hidden in the memory crystal. A mining colony on the edge of a red dwarf star. MI or EX-7. It wasn't marked on any official Union maps, which made her wonder how many other places were like this. Myrick 7 was dirty, broken, and forgotten. The miners lived under the surface in tunnels filled with steam and dust. The air was heavy with smoke and fear. As Lyra entered the underground station, people stared. At her armor, she heard whispers. Union, Hunter. Is she here for him? At the bar, she approached an old miner with robotic arms. He looked at her, then looked away fast. I don't want trouble, he said. I'm not here for you, Lyra replied. I need to know if a man passed through here. Human, name's Jace Rowan. The miner blinked. He saved us. What? 3 nights ago, raiders attacked. They had plasma cannons. We were outgunned. He came out of nowhere, shut down their ships like magic, left before anyone could thank him. Lyra frowned. Why would a fugitive protect you? The miner leaned closer. Maybe because he's not the enemy. He slid something across the table, a small cube. Found this after he left. Said it was for you. Back on her ship, Lyra activated the cube. A hologram appeared. Jace, sitting near a fire, shadows dancing on his face. You're getting closer, he said. But so are they. He looked straight at the camera. You feel it, don't you? The Union is not what you think. You were part of something once. They erased it. But your mind is stronger than they expected. He paused. You want to catch me? You already know where I'll be. Then the screen flashed coordinates. And a message. But be careful, Commander. You're not the only one hunting me now. Lyra stared at the message. Others. She didn't wait. She flew toward the coordinates. A barren space station orbiting. A gas giant. It had no name. Just a number. Station X-17. She entered the airlock slowly. Weapons ready. Inside, the place was abandoned. Flickering lights, broken walls. A strange hum filled the air, like the station itself was breathing. Then she saw it, a trail of symbols on the floor, drawn in black dust, the same symbols from VELA or -9. She followed them. Each symbol glowed, faintly as she passed, leading her deeper inside. To a large room. Empty. Silent, until the doors slammed shut. Gas hissed. Lyra pulled up her mask. Too late. The gas wasn't poisonous. It was something else. It made her see. Memories flashed. She was 12. Training. Cold hands. Bright lights. Voices saying, this one has potential. She was 16. Watching another child be taken. JACE. She was 20. Signing something. Project Omega. Then, blank. She collapsed to her knees. The door opened. Footsteps echoed. It was Jace. Older now. Tired. Worn. But alive. He looked at her with sadness. I'm sorry, he said. But you needed to see it. Lyra tried to stand. Her head spun. What did they do to me? Jace knelt beside her. They made you a weapon. Then they made you forget. She looked into his eyes. You knew me before. He nodded. You were the only one who protected me. You told them to stop, and when they didn't, you tried to escape with me, but they caught you, wiped your memory, sent you to hunt me. Her voice broke, and you waited for me. Jace's eyes were gentle. I believed that somewhere inside, the real you was still there. Suddenly, alarms screamed. Red lights filled the room. Jace pulled her up. They're here. Not Union. Something worse. She looked confused. Who? Jace didn't answer. He handed her a weapon. Not Union tech. Older. Stronger. If we're going to survive, you need to trust me now. Lyra hesitated. Then took the weapon. Outside, ships were landing. Not Union models. Black. Insect-like. With no lights. They weren't here to capture Jace. They were here to erase him. And anyone with him. Lyra looked at the man she had hunted across the stars. Now, she was about to fight by his side. Astra's face to see the air inside Station X-17 turned cold. Not from temperature, but from the silence that followed the alarm. Commander Lyra stood beside Jace now, her weapon raised, her mind spinning. Less than an hour ago, she had planned to capture him. Now, she was preparing to protect him. How many of them? She asked. Voice low. JACE checked the scanner. 3 ships landed. Not Union. Mercenary class. Maybe hired guns. But look at the heat pattern. They're hunting, not searching, looking for you. He shook his head. For both of us, they moved through the broken corridors of the station, past shattered control panels and flickering lights. Every sound echoed. A distant creak, the soft hiss of steam, footsteps that weren't theirs. "They're jamming communications," Lyra said, glancing at her wrist device. "No contact outside." "They want isolation," Jace replied. "Same tactic they use on Celis for. Trap the targets, cut the noise, then strike fast." Lyra looked at him. "You were military. I was more than that," he said. "But I stopped being theirs a long time ago." They reached an old hangar. The blast doors were sealed shut from inside. Jace placed a small explosive at the control panel. "You remember anything yet?" he asked. Now looking at her, she was quiet. "I remember. Flashes. A white room. Screaming. You were there." Jace paused. "You were the only one who treated me like a person." The blast door slid open with a low grind. "But they took that part of you away." Inside the hangar, there was a transport ship, half broken, leaking fuel, but flyable. "We get out now," Jace said. "And we survive." "No," Lyra replied. "We need answers. Who sent them? Why now?" Jace looked at her. "Because I found something, and because you're no longer one of them." Before he could say more, gunfire ripped through the ceiling. Metal sparks flew. A drone crashed into the ground, followed by a tall figure, fully armored, face hidden. Lyra fired. The figure moved fast, dodging the shot, and returned fire with a strange weapon, one that bent light as it passed through the air. Jace pulled Lyra behind a pillar. "She's a shadow agent," he whispered. "Not human, not fully Union." He shook his head. "Worse, a ghost unit." From the part of the Union even the Admirals fear, the shadow agent stepped forward slowly. Her voice came through the helmet, robotic, cold. "Commander Lyra, you were never meant to wake up. Termination is required." Lyra's blood turned to ice. Jace whispered, "They don't care about arresting us. They want to erase the past." Another shot hit the pillar. This time, it melted part of the metal. "We need to move," Jace shouted. They ran across the hangar, dodging fire. Lyra rolled under a cargo crate and threw a stun grenade. It exploded in a flash of white light. For a second, everything went silent. They jumped into the transport ship. Jace took the controls. Lyra manned the rear gun. Outside, the shadow agent recovered. Her armor was cracked, but she still moved like death. Jace hit the launch. The ship shook violently as it lifted. Off, smoke trailing behind as they escaped the station. Lyra saw the 3 enemy ships in orbit. They turned quickly, following them like predators. "We won't outrun them," she said. "Then we don't," Jace answered. "We trapped them." He flew toward the gas giant below, a massive red storm raging across its surface. "You're insane," Lyra muttered. He smiled. "Only a little." Inside the storm, the enemy ships followed close. Lightning danced across the sky. Static fried the instruments. Jace whispered something she didn't hear. A code. A signal burst from their ship. One of the enemy ships exploded. "What was that?" Lyra asked. Jace's face was serious now. "Not everything I stole was information. Some of it was fire. They escaped the storm, damaged but alive." The remaining enemy ships pulled back. For now, inside the cockpit, Lyra stared at Jace. "You could have killed me on Velanine. You could have run." Jace looked at her. "I didn't want to hurt you. I wanted you to remember." "Why?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Because back then, when we were just a scared kids, you were the only one who believed we deserved better." She didn't know what to say. For a long moment, there was only silence between them. Not awkward, just full of things not said yet. Lyra looked down at her hands. "I was proud to be Union, to follow orders. But now, I feel like I've been wearing someone else's skin." Jace nodded slowly. "That's how it starts." She looked up at him. "What now?" Jace leaned back in the seat, eyes on the stars ahead. "Now, we find the truth. And if the Union fears it, we bring it to the light." Far behind them, on station X-17, the shadow agent stood alone. She touched the side of her helmet. "They are together now," she said to her hidden command. A deep voice replied, "Then prepare the next phase." The betrayal stars outside looked the same, but everything inside Lyra had changed. She sat alone in the ship's small living space, staring at her reflection in the black glass of the viewport. Her armor was scratched, her face tired, but that wasn't what made her feel weak. It was the weight of what she now knew. The Union, her home, her mission, her identity, had used her like a weapon. They had taken her childhood, erased her memories, and turned her into a tool, and they Had lied about JACE about Project Omega about everything JACE entered quietly. He didn't speak, just placed a warm drink beside her. She didn't look at him. I should have known, she said finally. No, Jace replied. They made sure you wouldn't. Lyra stared at her hands. Do you know what it feels like? To believe you're serving justice and realize you've been helping monsters? Jace sat across from her. Yes, that's why I ran. She looked up at him. And why didn't you fight back then? Why did you wait for me to come? He sighed. Because I needed you to see it for yourself, not just believe me. That's the only way you'd be free. They jumped into hyperspace, heading toward an old data station in neutral space. A hidden archive Jace believed contained records from Project Omega, proof names, files they could use to expose the truth. As they travel, Lyra received a signal, encrypted, Union channel, from someone she never expected. Admiral Kale. She hesitated and opened it. His face appeared, calm, cold. Commander, he said, I know what you've seen, and I know who you're with. Lyra said nothing. You must understand, everything we did, it was to protect the galaxy, to prepare for what's coming. Her voice was sharp. You erased children's minds. You turned people into weapons. Kel's eyes narrowed. You were not just a soldier. You are the core of Omega, a stabilizer. Without you, the entire program falls. I'm not yours anymore. Kale nodded once. Then let me say goodbye, Lyra. The screen cut. The ship's systems shut down. Alarm screamed. EMP wave. Jace shouted from the cockpit. They've tracked the signal. Lyra's blood ran cold. It was a trap. She had led them straight to him. The ship was falling out of hyperspace. Systems offline. Backup power engaged. They crash-landed on a dark moon. No name, no lights, only jagged rocks and thunder above. Inside the ruined ship, Jace pulled Lyra to her feet. You trusted him, he said, voice quiet, but hard. I didn't know. He used your signal to find us. Lyra stared at the floor. I thought he was like a father. I thought. Jace turned away. We don't have time for regret. He opened a hidden compartment and grabbed a black case. What's that? She asked. He opened it. Inside. Strange crystal glowing with soft blue light. Not technology. Not fully. Something I stole from Project Omega. He said. It was part of you once. Her eyes widened. What do you mean? He held it out. This crystal reacts to brain waves. Yours. It syncs with your mind. That's why you were special. You weren't just part of Omega. You were Omega. Before she could process it, shadows appeared outside. Footsteps. Armored soldiers. Union insignias. Too many. They had come for both of them. Jace and Lyra ran out into the storm. Taking cover behind fallen rocks, explosions shook the sky. Blaster. Fire lit the darkness. They fought side by side, fast, fluid, deadly. Jace used older weapons that shorted out Union tech. Lyra used speed, skill, and instinct. She was no longer a soldier of the Union. She was something else now. Free. They reached a cave deep in the mountains. Inside was a transmitter, long dead, but repairable. JACE worked on it while Lyra stood watch. Then she heard a noise, a second set of steps. She turned, gun ready. A figure stood there, soaked in rain, wearing Union armor, but without a helmet. It was Commander Ray, her closest friend from training, the one who had vanished years ago. Lyra, he said, raising his hands. You don't know the whole story. She lowered her weapon slightly. Ray, how? I never disappeared. He said, I was reassigned. Secret Division, Project Omega's last defense. Jace stepped beside her, tense. Ray's eyes flicked to him. You're protecting him? He told me the truth. Lyra replied. You never did. Ray looked sad. They're going to activate the protocol. If you don't surrender, they'll wipe you again. This time. For good. She laughed once. Hollow. I'd rather die than forget again. Then Ray looked at her one last time. You made your choice. And walked away into the storm. JACE touched her arm gently. You okay? No, she whispered. But I'm done running. She walked to the transmitter. If they want war, we'll give them the truth. They sent the first data packet, encrypted files from the stolen memory crystal, images of Project Omega, names of victims, evidence of Union war crimes, not to the Union, but to every system, every planet, every free station. And as the signal burned through space, lighting fires across the galaxy, Lyra felt something strange. Peace. Even in betrayal, she was finally awake. Asterisk across the stars message had been sent. The truth about Project Omega, the Union's darkest secret, now raced across the stars, encoded in a pulse of light, reaching out to every independent system, every hidden colony, every outlaw port that still believed in freedom. It could not be stopped, and it could not be undone. But truth is a weapon, and like all weapons, it draws enemies. Lyra and Jace stood at the edge of a cliff on the storm world, watching the sky burn with the trails of Union ships moving into nearby sectors. They were searching now, desperate, violent, afraid. Jace lowered his binoculars. They've locked down 5 systems already, he said. They're calling it a virus leak. Lying to everyone. Lyra's voice was cold. Let them lie. The truth is louder. But it won't be enough, Jace replied. We need allies. Systems strong enough to stand. Lyra nodded. We need to stay alive long enough to find them. They left the storm world aboard a stolen transport ship with forged codes and broken wings. The ship creaked with every jump, but it flew, and in the end, that was all they needed. Their first stop, the Drift Sector, a floating city built inside the broken hull of a giant alien ship. It belonged to no planet, no law. If you had credits, secrets, or blood on your hands, the Drift welcomed you. They landed in the lower docks, weapons hidden, identities false. But danger in the Drift didn't wait. It watched. In a smoke-filled bar deep inside the market district, they met Captain Vira, an ex-Union fleet officer turned smuggler queen. She wore battle armor laced with jewelry and spoke like she had already won every fight. You want my help? She said, sipping purple fire whiskey. The Union already painted your faces on every bounty board from here to the core. Jay slid a data chip across the table. Proof. You help us. You get exclusive access early. Vira inserted the chip. Her eyes scanned the files. After a moment, she cursed softly. This is real. Lyra nodded. It's worse than you think. They're building something bigger, a system-wide control network. Vira leaned forward. You want war? No, Lyra said. We want justice. But if war follows, we won't run from it. Vira agreed to connect them with the Red Ring, a rebel alliance scattered across outer sectors. Not a true army, but a spark. All they needed was a reason to burn, but time was running out. Back on the Union capital ship Dominion, Admiral Kale stood in front of a hologram of Lyra and Jace. His face was calm, but his eyes held fury. They have revealed too much. He said to the shadows in the room, we begin protocol nullfire. A woman in a red cloak stepped forward, the same shadow agent who had attacked them earlier. I will bring them back, or I will erase them both. Kale turned. No, bring the girl, only the girl. The boy is no longer needed. The agents. Head tilted slightly, sentimental. Admiral, Kale's eyes narrowed. She is the weapon. She just doesn't remember yet. On board their ship, floating above a dead moon in the Vex fields, Lyra sat near the back wall, listening to old recordings. From her childhood training, memories Jace had helped unlock. Her voice. Young, afraid. Why does it hurt? Another voice, Kale. Because strength always begins with pain. She paused the recording. Her eyes were wet. Jace walked in, carrying a small metal bird, the one Lyra had found back on Vela 9. He had fixed it. He sat beside her. You were just a child. Lyra looked at him. So were you. There was silence. Then she whispered, what if I'm not ready to be who I was meant to be? Jace looked her in the eye. Then you'll be who you choose to be, for the first time. She smiled, soft and small, not as a soldier, not as a tool, but as herself. Suddenly, alarms rang. A shadow ship had found them, fast, silent, cloaked, too close, too late. Blast hit the hull. The ship rocked. JACE ran to the controls. Lyra followed. We can't fight them in open space, he said. Then we don't. She looked at the nearest planet, Eroth, an ice world full of canyons. Take US into the storm. They crashed through the upper atmosphere. Lightning struck around them. Ice cracked. Wind howled. The shadow ship followed, but Eroth had its own defenses, gravity storms, unpredictable air currents. Lyra manned the turrets, shooting flares to confuse the tracker. Then, a massive ice spire exploded in front of them. Jace pulled hard, and the ship crashed into a frozen ridge. Darkness. Lyra woke up hours later, half buried in snow. She crawled from the wreckage. Jace was gone. Tracks in the snow. Heavy boot prints. Then, Drag marks. They had taken him. She stood in the storm. When cutting into her face, no tears, no panic, only fire. The heart of war, the wind screamed over the icy plains of Eroth. Lyra stood alone in the snow, her armor torn, her eyes fixed on the sky above. Somewhere in the dark, behind frozen clouds and warships cloaked in silence, they had taken Jace. They didn't kill him. Not yet. He was still useful to them, still her weakness. She walked through the blizzard without rest, blood on her shoulder, a cracked comb on her wrist. But inside, a storm worse than the one around her. They had lied. They had used her. They had broken her. And now, they had stolen the one person who saw her before the war, before the brainwashing, before the lies. Hours later, she reached the wreck of an old Union relay station buried in the ice. She entered and powered up a distress signal, not to the Union, not to rebels, but to the Red Ring, the growing rebellion rising from the truth she and Jace had released. Within minutes, a voice crackled through. "Commander Lyra, we received your signal. Say the word." She stared into the ice-covered console. Her voice was sharp, cold, clear. "Ready every ship. We in it now." Meanwhile, aboard the Dominion, Jace hung by his arms in a cell made of light. His body was bruised, his eyes swollen, but his spirit still unbroken. Admiral Kale stood across from him. "You think she'll come for you?" he asked. Jace didn't answer. Kale stepped closer. She was meant to lead armies, not chase ghosts. Still, Jace said nothing. Kale's voice dropped lower. "She doesn't know the truth about herself, about you." Jace raised his eyes. "I know this. She's stronger than you ever imagined, and she's coming." Kale laughed. "No, she's already here." The battle against the Red Ring fleet dropped out of hyperspace like thunder. Old warships, stolen Union cruisers, modified, freighters brimming with weapons. Not perfect, but powerful in one way the Union had forgotten. They were free. Lyra led them in a stolen stealth fighter, her armor reforged, her mind clear. She sent one command to the fleet. "We don't fight for revenge. We fight for the future. Follow me in or stand down. Your choice." Every ship answered. They followed. The Dominion opened fire. Massive cannons lit the stars. Lyra spun through laser storms, dodging missiles, disabling engines, moving like she had wings. The woman who had once followed orders without question now led a rebellion with fire in her blood. She reached the hangar, boarded the ship alone, her weapon drawn, her heart locked between rage and hope. The final confrontation there stormed through the Dominion's metal halls. Shadow agents fell around her, fast, deadly, but not enough. She reached the cell. Jace looked up, smiling even through blood. "Took you long enough," she grinned. "I had to make an entrance." She blasted the lock and caught him as he collapsed. "Can you walk? For you, I'd fly." Suddenly, alarm screamed. The Admiral was coming, and he wasn't alone. Kale entered the chamber with a squad of genetically enhanced soldiers. He looked older now, tired, cracked under the weight of secrets. "You were like a daughter to me," he said. "No," Lyra replied. "I was your weapon, and now I'm your reckoning." Kale raised a strange device, the Omega Core, a weapon that could override minds, built using Lyra's own neural code. "Last chance. Return to your place, and I will spare him." Jace stepped forward. "She was never yours." Kale activated the core. Lyra screamed, her mind burned with memories, pain, orders. But this time, she didn't break. She broke through. Images flashed. In her mind, the training, the lies, the children, her own voice whispering, "I want to be free." She reached inside. Not for strength, for truth, and with one final cry, she overloaded the core from within, her mind rejecting its code, rewriting her purpose. The device exploded. Kale was thrown back. The room shook. The choice scale lay bleeding. Lyra stood over him, weapon in hand. Everything in her body begged for justice. But Jace stepped beside her. "You already won. Don't become what they made you." Lyra looked down at Kale, then at the room full of broken men, shattered lies, and the blood of 1,000 truths. She dropped the weapon and walked away. 1 week later, the Union's control collapsed in outer sectors. Worlds once silenced now rose. The Omega Files had sparked a revolution, not with guns, but with truth. The Red Ring became something more, a council, a voice, a new beginning. Lyra stood at the edge of a new world, watching rebel ships build homes. In the sky, Jace walked up behind her. "You never told me what you saw in that final moment." he said. Lyra looked at the stars. I saw who I could have been. He touched her hand. And who are you now? She smiled softly. I'm not a hunter anymore. She turned to him. I'm free. The end.